Check, 1, 2. How's everybody doing? Welcome to the podcast. Funny thing happened on my way to success. I'm your host, Miguel Washington, comedian, author, motivational speaker, entrepreneur, radio personality, former radio personality, and now the host of my own podcast. A funny thing happened on my way to success. A continuation of my book, the podcast. A funny thing happened on my way to success is my book, and my book is about funny stories that happened to me on the road, different events, just what I went through the 25 plus years on the road, and I'm just continuing it on this podcast, talking to different friends, venting about what we're going through right now, because we're going through the COVID-19, the coronavirus, and a lot of us are sitting at home. A lot of us are on extended vacation for a length of time, and we're gonna talk about what we're feeling. We're gonna talk about funny stories that's happened to us on the road from comedians, musicians, magicians, impressionists, ventriloquists, you name it, dancers, you name it. I'm gonna have them on the show because, you know what? Again, this show was inspired to me from Jerry Seinfeld's Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, and the one thing I noticed about all the interviews from television is they only interview the stars, the superstars. And my show, I want to focus on the people on the grind. We're still on the grind, searching to get to that stardom. We hadn't got there yet, and we have a lot of funny stories, a lot of situations that has happened to us. And right now I'm going to bring on a good friend of mine who's been in the business for a good length of time. He's a comedian, singer, impressionist. He can do it all. And right now he's on the phone. I don't know why he's on the phone, but he's on the phone talking to somebody. Welcome to A Funny Thing Happened on My Way to Success, my man Paul Boland. Give him a round of applause for Paul Boland.
Hey, Miguel. Hang on 1 second. Yes. No, I want large fries. When's that coming? Okay. Very good. Yeah, just have them leave it by the door because I don't want to. I'm not opening the door. Okay. Very good. Yeah. No, I got things to do. Yeah. No, I'll talk to you later. So, Miguel, how are you?
Hey, listen. You might need to get off because it says in the box Juliet Boland. So you can't even get your own computer.
And it's sad.
I could be talking to Juliet.
It's very sad.
Your daughter, and not you. But this is Paul, the father of Juliet Boland.
That's true.
Apparently, I wanted Juliet, but she was too big to talk to me on my podcast, so her dad stepped in.
Well, and let me give you some breaking news. I'm going to give you some Miguel Washington breaking news.
Okay.
The daughter of which you speak today got her offer from USC, and she was going to USC.
Oh, she's going to go to USC.
Yes, she is.
And see, I thought she was pushing toward UCLA.
Well, there was a few. There was Chapman. There was a couple of different schools.
Right.
But the USC was always her number one because it was USC Film School.
Right, and that's what I was thinking.
And they for her Juliet's parents, they gave the best offer. So.
And you didn't have to maneuver the books or put any under the table or nothing like that.
As far as they know, no, we didn't. So.
Okay. So for those who don't know, Paul Boland is an impressionist, singer, great guy, great father, great human being, director, producer, scriptwriter, evangelist. What else do? You do it all, man.
I do. Wow. I got upgraded to evangelist. That's pretty good.
Hallelujah. I get happy every time I talk to you.
Miguel, bless you for calling. I'm happy you're here.
You don't have any color on.
You know what I feel bad about? Because in the last month, as I've watched everybody do their interviews, I was watching A-Rod was on Jimmy Fallon last night.
Okay.
And in the shot where his two Emmy Awards were right here,
right.
His Golden Glove was over here, and I was just going, I wonder how long it took A-Rod to get all those into place.
You know, A-Rod got all that, and all you got is a clock behind you.
I know. I would just have a picture of J-Lo next to me.
That's it. That's the only trophy you need right there.
That's the award right there.
Exactly. Right. So my man Paul works the cruise ships just like I do, or did.
Yeah.
And we're on an extended vacation. And me and Paul, we met about 20 Nah, about maybe 15 years ago.
15, 20 years, in that pocket, yeah.
Yeah, because I've been doing cruise ships for 20 years, so it couldn't have been 20. So it had to be like around 15, 18-year mark.
Yeah.
We met early on in my, when I started doing cruise ships. But you've been doing cruise ships for a while, correct?
Yeah, I started in '92, so I'm knocking on 30 years.
Was Christopher Columbus the captain of that one?
That's right. Well, it was all the pictures are in black and white. That's all.
Wow, 1992.
Yeah. And I'll tell you something we joke about, but it is true. The first ships that I worked on had no televisions in the cabins. And because there was no satellite on the ship.
Right.
So there used to be a guy, there was an act that used to be, he'd be on the ship for like 6 months, and he created a store in his room. So he would get those little 13-inch TV VCR combos.
Right.
And rent them to the acts that would come in and out.
Oh.
So you'd rent for a couple of bucks a day, and you go, well, it's the only entertainment we had. So
right.
So, and then you go up, the ship would have a video library, and you go rent some movie from 40 years ago.
Hey, that guy, whoever that guy was, he probably owns, probably name is Bill Gates, isn't it? Probably Bill Gates.
He had, before we had cruise stores, he had cans of Spam. He had all.
He was a visionary. He was a visionary.
Yeah.
Just like we are. I mean, even though we're entertainers, we're visionaries.
We're ahead of our time.
And we have to be now, because this whole thing, I started this podcast on the instructions, the influence, the pushing out by my son, the second. I'll just call him the second. He goes by Kim Naki now. He has a middle name, but I can't pronounce it. And I joke with him about it, like, really, Kim Naki? Yeah.
Wait a minute. He's the son formerly known as...
Yeah. Exactly. The son formerly known as Michael II.
Yeah.
And he messes with me like, your name is not really Miguel. I'm like, shut up.
Yeah. Juliet's changing her name to this.
Kids these days, you know. But he pushed me to do this podcast because he said, look, Pops, you gotta think outside the box. We live in a different world now.
Yeah.
And with this coronavirus and the entertainment industry is basically reconfigurating. We have to reshape ourselves. And I said, well, let me try, and because I have so many friends from the ships and from just working the road, I said, let me try this podcast and just talk about what we're going through this whole COVID-19. So, Paul, before we get into where you're from and everything, I want to know. Well, no, let's start there. We'll come back to the COVID-19.
No, let's talk more about you.
You know I'm gonna edit all this out, right? You know I'm gonna edit all this out. And for someone to be a great director, you're not a great lighter because you didn't light yourself well at all.
I'm sitting there going, I've got lights above me, and I'm looking at myself going, wait a minute, let me see.
Yeah, you should radiate more light than you are, Moses.
How about that? Is
oh
that
my
good?
Goodness!
Wow.
I'm taking that title back of director and all.
Welcome to the Blair Witch Project. There you go.
It made a lot of money. So Paul, you're an impressionist.
Yes.
So how long you been doing voices? I mean, when did this come about?
It's a good question. My memory is that the first voice I remember doing, which I can't do anymore, was when I was 8 years old.
Okay.
And it was Lyndon Johnson, the president.
Oh, okay.
How old I was.
Right.
But because I'm one of those kids, I wore glasses coming out of the womb. I mean, I think my first pair of glasses, I was 4.
Wow. Okay.
But I realized I had glasses like his at that time. And I can remember pushing my glasses down the end of my nose doing, my fellow Americans. And then I started seeing guys like Rich Little and Frank Gorshin and George Kirby and all those guys.
George Kirby,
doing
that's
impressions.
old school. For those who do not know, younger people who are watching this podcast, go to YouTube and put in Rich Little or George Kirby, and those are now. Rich Little was the epitome for me. He was the first person I saw doing impressions.
Yeah,
man, he sounds just like whoever he was doing. I mean, this guy's good. I wonder how they do that. So you got a knack for it at 8 years old. But when did you get the drive to I can do this. I can do more voices.
It was something that I always did just for myself. you know, honestly, through my teenage years and all that, because I never did voices for anybody. Nobody knew I did them.
So you didn't do them in school?
No. And I'm sure at some point when I was in school, because I grew up on the East Coast, you know, I grew up in Massachusetts. So I'm sure at some point I did a voice for somebody, and whoever it was probably went, that doesn't sound like him. And so I never did.
I'm thinking that you were like, because you said you were this kid with glasses. To get friends, you would impersonate the teacher or the principal to get people to gravitate towards you.
Never. Yeah. No. And the thing too, it's good to note that the reason I have such bad eyesight today is I didn't wear the glasses because I was embarrassed by them. So kids, wear your glasses.
And kids, wear your glasses so you can light yourself better when you do the podcast. I was going to say,
it really, you know what it is? It's because it's so
bright behind you.
Here. Let me see if I help myself at all doing this.
No, because you got the big.
No. I think it's probably better. I think I probably look better like this.
You look better on your left side or your right side.
There you go.
There you go. And Juliet's picture in the background.
Yeah, and that, by the way, don't stack videos behind yourself when your chair can. That'll happen.
You really prepped for this show, didn't you?
Man, I've been up for 10 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay. So you're in school. You didn't. No, that's good right there.
It's fine. Yeah.
So you didn't. So you went to college. Did you do? When did you first time you went on stage and did impressions?
Well, I'll tell you what really got me into this. I did the voices just for my own entertainment for years and years. I was up in the attic, you know, with tape recorders, and I was recording things off of TV and learning how to do it just for my own amusement.
Okay.
And it wasn't until I got into theater, which was, I did some plays in high school, but I got into like community theater and local theater when I was about 17. And,
as a singer and an actor.
Yeah, I mean, like I did Bye Bye Birdie. I played the Elvis character in Bye Bye Birdie. I did Guys and Dolls, Fiddler on the Roof. Did all those sorts of things. And I think by doing that, something in me started going, well, I could do these voices as well. So I remember doing a play. It was a dinner theater. So it was kind of a restaurant bar thing. And somebody had the idea. They said, how about an after show for after the play? Because we want people to stay and drink.
Right.
And so that's why I thought, maybe I'll put together 20 minutes or, so, and do these voices that I've never done in front of anybody.
Right.
So that was the first time I remember actually getting up and doing a voice.
How old were you then?
I was probably 19, 20. Wow. Yeah.
So between 8 and 19, you practiced your craft without knowing you were practicing your craft all by yourself.
Yeah, I had absolutely no idea. And it was still through my 20s when I moved out to California. I thought I was coming out here just to be an actor and starve and all that kind of stuff like everybody else.
Right.
But in my late 20s, I got a job at a restaurant called Ed DeBevick's in Beverly Hills. And it was a place where they wanted us to perform. And so I had put together an Elvis thing. It was a 50s restaurant. So I put together an Elvis thing that I could do at the restaurant. And within that, I got bored really quick doing Elvis. So then I put together my way bit, which was originally, it was Elvis doing My Way, but doing a bunch of other voices. And it was kind of unique.
Okay. Gotcha.
And that, I was spotted by a producer that was putting together a show. And he said, I think that bit would be fun for our show. And it turned out to be a late night show called Into the Night with Rick Dees.
I remember that show. Yeah.
So I did the pilot. We did 2 pilots for the show. I did the pilots for the show. And then I was the first act on the very first show, which I knew meant I'd be in all the reviews of the show and all that sort of stuff.
Correct.
So then I started getting calls for jobs, and there was a theater in Chicago contacted me and said, hey, we'd like you to come here. So I started thinking, maybe I should focus on this. Maybe, God's telling me, you know what, you're doing all these things kind of half successfully. Maybe if you focused on one thing, you do. And that's exactly what happened.
Which is funny. You say so a voice told you to go do the voices.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. and it sounded like George Burns. And you smelled the hint of a cigar. There's a little cigar, and he said, "Hey, maybe I ought to do voices."
Well, now, So now, okay, so out of all the voices, how many do you do? Because I know there are impressionists that say, "Oh, the man with 1,000 voices."
Yeah.
Man with, I'm like, I don't even know 1,000 people.
Exactly, and it's the funny thing is that because I've gotten that label as well, and like our pal John Blair on the ships will call me the man with 1,001 and all that. Realistically, I would say.
And what's the one?
I know. Realistically, I would probably say it's probably a couple hundred over the years.
Okay.
Probably about 200, give or take.
Right.
And then 50 good ones.
But see, at least you're honest.
Yeah.
You're honest about it.
Yeah.
That's just like a guy said, I can sing all these songs, but really they can only sing 2.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And every time you go and see them, they're singing either one or the second one.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone has their, it's like you call it, you have, even with a stand-up, you have your go-tos, you have go-to jokes. And that's the thing, you kind of go, like for me over the years, it was always like, especially 20 years ago, Barney Fife was always my go-to. That was like that was my party trick, so because it would be easy.
So do you have a favorite? I mean, that's your go-to. Do you have a favorite voice that you like every time you do it, it makes you laugh?
Party be one, but that's a really good question. I love doing Sammy. It amuses me. It amuses me to do Sammy because I love Sammy Davis Jr. so much. But he's one. I love doing Louis Armstrong. I like Louis Armstrong because he's the hardest one to do. And just for the gravelly thing, because there's a lot of guys that do it or try to do it with the gravel.
I'm noticing a pattern here.
Yeah. What's that?
All your favorites are black men. You got an Eddie Murphy in there. Give me Chris Rock. Can you do Chris Rock?
That's right. Well, that's the funny thing is my daughter Juliet. She's 17 going on 18 now, so I've been introducing her to all of the Eddie Murphy and
right.
And that's the first thing she goes, "Why aren't you doing them? They're funny."
Look at me, sweetie. Look at me. That's right. Look at me.
But I understand.
Is that what she said? I understand.
But yeah. So it is a funny thing because there was times where I remember like even performing on ships or wherever. I would either get, how come you don't do more black people or women, and that's right. That's what I would say to him. I'd say, well, wait a minute. Isn't Louis Armstrong, Ray Charles, Sammy Davis Jr.,
Okay, can you do black people that's alive?
Well, that's a different story. Oh, buddy.
So do you do Eddie? Do you do Chris? Do you do?
You know what's funny? I'm sure I could, but there for whatever reasons, they're ones that I didn't focus on. I don't know why. I really love them. But
because they're alive.
Well, as far as we know. But yeah, no, and to your point, it is one of those things during this downtime. That's one of my goals is to come out of this with people that are alive. You got to set your goals.
I know. Everybody has them. You got to set them. So tell me, because you said some people actually come to you and say you should do more black people. Give me a story, one of the craziest stories that has happened to you on the road, where someone requested something, complained about something. Give me a story. I
can give you a couple that popped up in my head. I remember years ago I had a band and we used to play in Palm Springs all the time. And
now this is when you were singing, right?
Yeah, there's singing, but I would throw in voices and in the band, I throw in voices and stuff too. But I remember this group of ladies came in, and when I say it's Palm Springs, so the group of ladies were 80 and up.
Yeah.
And
playing chickens for Palm Springs.
And they were the type they had their couple of pops at 5 o'clock. They'd go have dinner, and then they'd go find a place to listen to music. So they come into us, and this one kind of mouthy gal says, I think she requested Bad Leroy Brown or something like that.
Jim Croce.
and we didn't, the band, I knew the song, but we didn't know it as a band. So I said, oh, we don't know that one. And I think she asked for Chicago, that Toddlin' Town Sinatra.
Right.
And we didn't have that at the top. So she starts heckling us. Like she's 87 and she's heckling us.
And you're a band with you don't know any songs.
Yeah. And so she kept at us. So I finally was getting a little upset with her. So I looked at the band and I said, I'm going to dedicate a song. Follow me. And I said, hey, what's your name? She said, Priscilla. I said, Priscilla, this song's for you. And we did Lady as a Tramp.
Did she walk out? Did she stay? What?
Let me tell you something. She became the president of my fan club.
Are you serious?
It turned her like that because it was Sinatra, but she got such a kick out of it.
Right. Oh, that's funny.
And then I told her, I said, look, if you come in, by the next time you come in, we're going to know Leroy Brown and whatever you want to hear. But she wound up hosting the band. She had a dinner for us when we ended our season out in Palm Springs. It really turned her out great. But I always remember how I always told her, I said, remember how much you hated me?
Turn a negative into a positive, because most time we don't like hecklers. I don't befriend them. Don't talk to me after the show. Don't tell me, oh, I was just trying to help you. I don't know. I don't need that.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
She became the president of your fan club.
Yeah. But usually like once I got
fan club?
Yeah. By the way, this was probably 1989, 90, and she was 87 then. So you see where the story's going.
And when you made the promise,
she's not 130.
When you made the promise to her, the next time you come in, you didn't think she was coming back.
What are the chances?
We ain't got to learn that song. She ain't go. She won't be around tomorrow.
I told her the over/under of her coming back was.
Wow.
But as far as ships go, there wasn't a lot on the old days of ships when they were smaller and they had more contact with us. I remember a woman coming up to me after a show right in my face and said, I did not appreciate your joke on Barry Manilow. And she was furious, and she's this far away from me. And I said, I like Barry Manilow. What are you talking about? She goes, no, you're putting him down and all that. I said, well, I'm having fun with him. But, but there was no talking to her. She was, as we call Fanalow. She was a Fanalow. So,
okay.
So there was no making her happy. That I don't know what to tell you.
Okay. I'm trying to put the end of the story together. Was it Barry Manilow's mother? That's what I'm thinking. Am I right?
She was probably at that time, she was youngish. She was 30 or 40. Just a fan, but she absolutely furious. I also remember I lost a job at Holland America, which I didn't realize. That one of the guys that ran Holland America at the time had worked for Barry Manilow. Okay. And someone told me about a year after I had worked there, he said, you know why you never came back? I said, what's that? He goes, he didn't like your Manilow. Wait a minute. Okay, so I got to hear the joke now. Well, the bit was Barry Manilow singing, I write the songs, right? And I said, and now here's the man that sings all the songs that makes the whole world sleep. Okay. Gotcha. And it was just a series. The end of it was, I'm on Prozac because I write the songs. So there you go. And they couldn't take that one. They took it as a huge offense, but well, the cruise ships are a little different because you have a captured audience. Yeah. And I think I had this was my story where I had a big complaint on Royal Caribbean once. This is the last time I really gave any more attention to the negativity, if there were negativity thrown my way toward my show. I'm doing a show. I did the Welcome Aboard show, 20 minutes. And cruise director calls me and said, hey, man, listen, you had a complaint. She said you ruined her cruise. Do you mind calling her and talking? I don't care. I'll find out what's going on. So I called the woman and I introduced myself and told her, I heard you had a complaint. And she went through the whole list of my show. And I said, well, what exactly did I say to offend you
And she said, you talked about Mike Tyson. Now, understand, this is when Mike Tyson was first accused of rape.
Right.
And I did this joke about him trying to talk to the judge, but the judge couldn't understand. I'm trying to do the Mike Tyson voice, because I'm not an impressionist.
That's good, though. That's good, Mike. Yeah.
Well, but everybody does. I do Eddie Murphy doing Mike. I don't do Mike. I do Eddie Murphy doing Mike. Yeah. Matter of fact, I do my uncle doing Eddie Murphy doing Mike. That's what I do.
There are origins of voices that way.
Exactly. That's how I do it.
I could always go, oh, that's the Dana Carvey, or that you could always hear somebody.
Right.
Go ahead.
So I said, it's Mike Tyson. He's up for rape. Well, I appreciate you. And who told you to call? Blah, 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 blah. So I called, the cruise director calls me back a couple of days later and apologizes for asking me to call. So this woman was complaining about everything. She says, you don't have enough, and this was a black lady. And she was like, you don't have enough black entertainers on the cruise ship. And he said, our lead singer, who was, I don't know if you remember Gavin Gregory.
Of course, yeah.
Said, Gavin Gregory is our lead singer in the production cast. He's not black enough. Well, our comedian is black. He's too black. So she was looking for that middle ground. Come to find out, she was just trying to get a free cruise. Yeah. Because back then, if you complained enough, the story was, if you complain enough, you'll get a free cruise out of it.
Yeah.
So people will like jeopardize your livelihood just to get a free cruise. If you don't like me, you just don't like me.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question though. Is that a thing? Can you be not black enough or too black?
Apparently.
Because I'm way too white. I know that.
There's NWA, there's Will Smith, and whoever's in the middle, there it is. I don't, people complain, and comedy now it doesn't matter. Comedy, impressions, the woman is complaining to you because you're making fun of our country is getting that way. And we saw the progression coming.
Right.
But now the politically correctness is, why even go to any show if anything offends you?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Because if you're doing a parody of Barry Manilow, you're paying homage to a guy who's doing well. Yeah. If he was bad, you wouldn't even talk about him.
Wouldn't care. Exactly.
Right. Exactly.
Well, I mean, a good point is that people ask because of what I do, they say, oh, you must do something on Trump. And I go,
right.
No, because my example is I just did not even an impression, but I referenced Trump in a separate bit. And It was more about the hair. It was more about his hair. And, it wasn't that big of a slam.
Right.
But I realized that what's happened, especially over the last 3 years, is that it went from, some people would laugh at it, some wouldn't, depending on what part of the country I was in.
Right.
And then about a year ago, everybody was like,
yeah,
it's because they want to dissect what you're saying. Right. So I just said, no, it's not. To me, I go, it's not worth it. Yeah, why do it?
Well, I'm doing my first virtual show, comedy show tonight, but like tonight will be after we air this podcast. But I have friends already saying, "Oh, I already know you got enough. You've written a lot of jokes on Trump." I'm like, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. It goes back. I always go to the rap analogy. There's NWA and there's Will Smith. I am on the Will Smith side because I'm not talking about the issues. I'm just talking about having fun. That's my comedy.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with NWA. They're justified in what they're talking about, but that's not my lane. So why would I go there? And anyway, this not a rap. Don't be requesting jokes. Just sit down and listen.
Yeah, and you make a good point though. As you're talking, I'm thinking, geez, I wonder if the spray tan community sits back and goes, oh, he's not orange enough.
Well, my joke I do, orange is the new black. Did y'all know that? And that's as far as I go with it. As far as I go with it.
Well, but, the tough thing about it is the way I look at any of that, especially because it's what's going on, is I go, look, I know there's people that want to do material on him or whatever's going on. To me, it's all too serious that I just go, I just want to stay away. I'm hoping for the best for all of us. That's
exactly.
Yeah.
So let's go fast forward to the cruise ships.
Yes.
We both work in the cruise ships. And now when I met you, Juliet wasn't even around.
Right. That's right.
She was nowhere around. And we became friends right away. We just naturally clicked.
Yeah.
And so what's the difference to you? Oh, well, let's go back. The COVID-19 has changed everything. We know the difference between when we met and before the COVID-19.
Right.
Where were you when this whole thing went down?
This current one.
Yeah,
I was on the Grandeur. I was on the Grandeur of the Seas out of Baltimore. I was supposed to be on for 4 days and get off in San Juan.
Gotcha.
And
Puerto Rico.
Yeah, but everything happened, and we had 3 sea days to get there. We went nowhere anyway.
Okay.
So by the time we got close, they said, well, we're going to miss San Juan anyway. So that now it's going to be 4 sea days. And then they said, oh, you'll get off in St. Martin.
Okay.
And then as this thing continued, we had, as far as we knew, we had no problems on the ship.
Right.
By the time we got to St. Martin said, no, can't come.
Oh, okay.
St. Thomas said no. And, so now
they just start turning ships away. I didn't know that.
Yeah, because again, and when you think about it, when in the early days of this, especially when nobody knew anything,
right?
Think of a small, a cruise ship coming into a small little island.
Right.
If there's cases on there, you can wipe it out. I don't blame them at all. But but so everybody was saying no. So now they said, well, you got to stay on another couple of days, and finally I think it was Barbados was the first one that said yes.
Okay.
Now by this point they keep asking me for more shows because not only can I not get off, but nobody can get on. So
now, your 4 days is now what?
Now I'm up to seven
okay.
or 7 or 8.
How many shows you've done?
And I've done 2 full shows by this point.
Okay.
2 different
shows.
Yeah, 2 different 45s. Yep. And there were a couple other acts on, but so when we got to Barbados, by the time we get there, they said, yeah, you can get off. But the cruise line said, we can't get anybody on the ship. Would you mind staying and doing another show?
Right.
And I thought, my thought was, well, yeah, I could probably get some songs and put some things together. But my thought was thinking, this could be the last gig for a while. So in my mind, I'm going, yeah, I'll stay as long as you want.
Right.
So the other acts had used all their material, so they got off. I think one magician got on. And so I wound up being on the ship for 15 days.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You didn't pack for that one, did you?
No, well, you want a good ship story.
Okay. Yes.
The second, here's the other thing, because I was only expected to do 1 show.
Right.
So what I never do is I rarely pack light, but I packed light. I only brought my show suit. I didn't bring anything else to go out and about. I brought sweats to live in and all that stuff. And so the second show that I do, it was also rocky. It was very rocky seas that we had. So I go out the first show on my second night. I go out and I'm doing my opening number. I'm looking down in the audience and kind of goofing with somebody in the crowd. And we started to list. So I had to brace myself on my little floor monitor, and kind of stretch my leg out. Well, I tore my inseam of my pants.
Of the only pair of pants you have.
From my sole pair of pants, I ripped from the crotch down to my knee.
Wow.
Was all open.
Wow.
And this was opening number, first show. And so I had to.
That's when you should have did the black impersonation.
There you go. Well, I got to be honest with you because now I'm pulling stuff off of this. Fortunately, in that particular show, I was doing Mr. Bojangles. I said, I've never been so well dressed for this number.
That's freaking funny.
So the upside of the story was, so now I finished the first show. I have another 9 o'clock show to do after this. And I come off and I'm looking at the production manager going, I don't know what I'm going to do. And he says, hang on. He says, the sound guy is going to come back and see if he can help you. I said, is he going to put some mic cord around? What's he going to do? And so he comes back. He's from the Ukraine. And he comes through the door and he goes, Paul, drop pants. And I went, okay. So I give him my pants, and he goes back in the back. This was on the Grandeur. So he goes back to that deck 4 where they have the costumes and everything.
Yeah.
Singer sewing machine. He sits down. He goes, my mother's seamstress. Teach me everything.
Wow.
And he sewed my pants. They look better than, when I started.
Man, he's in the wrong. He was in the, well, now he has something to fall back on.
I'm telling you, because he's a good sound man, but boy, he did this in probably about 4 minutes. He was done and had it all perfectly, and went out for the second show and everything was fine. Because I brought nothing, I wound up doing 4 different appearances on the Grandeur in the same suit.
Four different 45-minute shows?
No, it was 2 45s, a half hour, and a 15.
Okay, so 3 different 45s.
Yeah, 3 different 45s.
That's still a lot. That's still a lot.
Well, by the time I came out on the farewell show, I had made a big sign that said, "I'm sorry," as I was.
Me again.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, first of all, this was a, I think originally it was like a 12-day cruise.
Okay.
When all this stuff happened, we only wound up going the 1 day to Barbados and I think 1 day to St. Kitts. And that's all these people had for 2 weeks was 2 ports. And so I was also keenly aware of, here they are seeing me again and again and again, but they're also not going anywhere. And they're on an older ship where it doesn't have much slide and all this. Yeah. So I felt for them, but they were great. I mean, they're really nice. And I'll tell you, my best line for that whole week was, I came out for my second show, and this is, everybody knew from my first show that I was supposed to get off in San Juan, and now sure enough, I'm still here. So I came out and I said, well, as you saw, I didn't get off in San Juan, which they chuckled at, but I said, I got to tell you something. I was raised Catholic, and this was during Lent, the time this happened. I was raised Catholic, and I said, this is working out beautifully because I gave up land for Lent.
Great joke. Did you give it a round of applause?
Oh, they were falling out over that. It was great.
There you go.
So there you go. So so that was my recent. That's where I was with all this happened.
Now, see, you like I said, you do many things: impressionist, work cruise ships, singer, director. Now we are working on. We have worked on projects together in the past. But we're going to talk about the project we're working on together as of this moment, the Dry Dock Comedy Channel.
By the way, I would like to just my excuse for doing a bunch of older voices is because once I got into video editing and directing, that creativity just got put on hold somewhere.
Your creativity lane went to another venue.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay. You still got the creativity because I've seen your edits and everything. You're very creative.
Yeah, which I love to do. But so Dry.
Why don't you just do voices while you're doing the editing?
There you go.
That's all you got to do. When you mess up something, damn it. Something, I don't know.
The reason I know is because at some point, Juliet and my wife, Marlise, would be going, could you stop that? Could you just... that edit was all right.
There you go. So, the Dry Dock Comedy Channel, you called me up. And this makes me laugh every time I think about it. I'm on my way home. You're out on the ship.
Yeah, still on the Grandeur,
And I'm coming. I just got off the Sky Princess. It's the 14th, and my wife we were about to stop and get something to eat on the way from the airport. And I get a text from Paul and say, hey, I got this great idea. Since we're going to be dry dock, why don't we do a channel of video of all the entertainers, what we're going to be doing while we're in dry dock. I think it'll be funny. We cutting the grass, mowing the yard, singing, dancing, telling jokes, whatever. Oh, cool, that's a good idea. Thanks, Paul. And that was it. And then I get an emoji, and I looked at the emoji, and I don't read emoji. I looked at the emoji, I looked at Mickey, I said, what does that mean? She said, confused.
I think the emoji looked like this.
So in my mind, I'm thinking Paul is giving me an idea to do. And Paul is like, no, I'm giving you an idea of mine that I want you to come in and help me on. And I'm like, oh, my bad.
I thought this was something we could do together. Totally not.
I thought you were like, huh? He just gonna take my idea and just run with it? I'm like, I would have. I thought it was a great idea.
Well, and in fairness, the way, however I presented it, I'm sure if I looked at it, it probably does read that way. To go, hey, Miguel, here's a great thing for you to do.
I should have pulled that up on my phone. Keep talking. I'm gonna see if I can find that because
while Miguel's looking, let me tell you a few Miguel stories.
Dude, tell by the time I had the janitorial service, that was plenty of laughs.
Your audience, your podcast audience is in for a treat, because if you just did podcast where you told stories about your cleaning company.
that was a tough 6 years for me and my wife. I'll never forget the time I was working the Caribbean Princess, and when you have a janitorial service, a lot of times you have to leave. I would get off the plane, get in the car with my wife, and go straight to a building to clean after coming off the ship. And we had this huge complex, ATS. It was out in Kennesaw, Georgia. And it's great money, but it took an hour to get there and then an hour to get back. So we couldn't start till 6. So we leave the house at 5, and it takes us about 5 or 6 hours to do. So we didn't get home till like 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning. I get off the plane. We have to go out to this building. Now I've been on the Caribbean Princess week on, week off for like, at this time, 6 weeks. I had got 9, and I don't brag about this, I had got 9 standing ovations in a row in the Explorers Lounge. I got my rhythm going. I got my shows down, and I'm puffed up. You know, you get off the plane, and I go clean this building, and I'll never forget, I'm cleaning this bathroom, right? And I'm thinking about the show, and then I flushed the toilet, and as the water went down, I said, yep, there goes my career. It's very humbling to go from standing ovation to cleaning a public toilet.
Absolutely.
But I'm like, those are done. No more stories at all.
But the thing, we always used to wonder, you know, why this didn't become your act, because you would tell Marlise and myself these stories, and we would cry laughing because you would tell it so funny and animated anyway. But I just thought, this is so funny.
I wasn't joking though. There was nothing. I was very serious.
Well, you know, it's so funny. I give you an example is about how we could all be too close to things. Is our mutual friend Kelly Monteith.
I can't.
Kelly's been a comedian for years and years and years. Yes. But Kelly is now older, and he's divorced, 2 kids, and they've been divorced for a long time. And Kelly, you know, it's been, and his wife's nice, but it's been years of alimony and all the things you do with that fun stuff.
Right.
So Kelly finally gets himself on track. The kids are older. He gets an apartment in Brentwood here in LA. And he's like, you know, yeah, got a place of my own. He's happy. And his wife comes to visit and sees what a nice place he is, and she rents the place underneath him.
Are you serious?
So now Kelly's daughter lives with him, and his son lives with the wife downstairs. And I said, really? You don't think this is a sitcom? And he goes,
no. It is a sitcom.
I know.
Oh my goodness. Well, I shouldn't say anything. My aunt lives with me now, and she jokes around about I'm running a senior citizen home at my house because my mother-in-law lives with me. And she said, just any senior citizen that walk by, just come on in. Miguel will take you in.
There you go.
But that is a sitcom. She comes to visit, and wow.
But Kelly does not see the humor in it at all. He's the only one.
Yeah. The pain has come back.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So real quick, the Dry Dock Comedy Channel.
Sure.
We didn't finish. Tell everybody about it.
Oh, okay. So yeah. So the
idea. I was just tagging along.
You know, my original idea but Miguel clearly improved on. Was we were all going to be home. Ships weren't going to be sailing, so all these legions of entertainers are going to be home with no outlet for their stuff. So we thought, well, this would be fun. Let's create a channel that was for a place for any comedian that wanted to do a funny video around their house. They could submit to us, and we put up on the channel, which we have done. And the great thing is that we've gotten somebody created, like the video that Willie Brown did the other day, and you edited that one. It's so creative. I thought, well, this is what I'm talking about. This is great. You know, It was very funny.
I found the exchange. So Paul says, hey, idea. YouTube channel called Dry Dot Comedy Channel. It can feature short, funny clips of ship comics. It can be skits or stand-up. The purpose would be, since the public can't come out to see, we bring to you at home. It can serve as a way to get through the coronavirus period. Just a thought. And then you said, actually, any ship act, as long as it's funny, 2 minutes max per video, short attention span theater. And I replied, trying to get those comics to send clips will be a job in itself. I like the idea. And you said, a lot of guys and gals will need an outlet. I said, I will try. Thanks for the idea. And I don't know if you can see the emoji. And I was like, what's the look? And then when I say, what's the look, I get a phone call.
That was my lawyer. I think my lawyer called at that point.
I'm like, what's the look? You're like, what the fuck?
Oh, God, that's funny.
Oh, my goodness. That makes me laugh. Oh, I was like, listen, dude, we friends. You gonna play me like that?
What happened to we?
Woo! Now, with the Dry Dot Comedy Channel is doing very well.
Yeah, it's worked out great because I think we talked. I think in the 3 or 4 weeks that we've done it now, it's we've had about 40 different entertainers have done stories and jokes and what have you. You know.
And we're looking for even more. Matter of fact, Derek Cameron just did a great story, and I got to call him and say, Derek, I need for you to do a story like that for us. He did a great bit for us, but I want a story like you told on your. And people think we're trying to steal their thunder, but we're not. No, we're trying to enhance it, because if we put it on our channel, it's an outlet. Then you take it, we send it back to you.
Yeah. And
then you can just, and it's just more people to see you. It's about, publicizing you.
It's promoting everybody. Absolutely. And a great example of that is because we've had a lot of guys, and I'm happy they're doing it, but they started sending us videos. And then we would put our logo and put it up on our channel. But then we found out that they had already put it up on their Facebook pages days before.
Right.
And so they would do okay, but it wouldn't go through the roof. Now, our friend Mark Preston, formerly of the Letterman, he's done two videos specifically for us, and his are through the roof because he's now sharing it to his fan base, and they're going, oh, what's this that Mark's doing? He's on this channel. So, so that's the only thing I would tell guys is that it's in your best interest to send it to us first, and then share it back to your people so they see you're in these different places. You're in these different outlets. So,
exactly. Now this is our second or third project we worked together. It's got to be the second.
Well, the second big one like this. Yeah.
Big one. Okay.
Yeah.
The first big one was my sketch comedy show that I wrote. Called Stop Me If You've Heard This, and I shot the sizzle reel here in Atlanta, and the whole show. And you said you saw I interviewed Kevin, and Kevin said, I remember you telling me about this, and then he said, do you remember I called you? And I said, hey man, somebody done stole your idea. They doing a sketch comedy show based on what you did. And I'm like, no, what he was talking about was comics would do bits.
Right.
And what they would do was they would act out their bits.
Oh, okay.
Which was very funny.
Yeah.
I said, mine is jokes.
Yeah.
And you act them out.
Bring it to life, yeah.
Right. And we did the sizzle reel, and then I got a little interest. Somebody wanted to see more. They wanted to see a whole, it was, God, I can't think, the guy who created Last Comic Standing. Why can't I never think of his name? I can see his face, but I can't call it. Needless to say, he was interested, and he wanted to see a whole pilot show. Yeah. So I called Paul up, and I said, hey, here's the deal. I'm out of money because I use it all to do the sizzle reel. Can you help me? He said, no problem whatsoever. And me and my wife came to LA, and we were there for was it 3 days?
I think it was 4 days in total because we we shot stuff and then we had to edit.
Okay. Yeah. We shot stuff and you had to edit. I would just sit next to you at that point because I knew nothing about editing, but I learned so much about, number one, your skill as a director, your eye for your ear for listening to jokes before they're heard, and your hospitality for two. And you didn't make it. I don't think you made us. You didn't make us pay for anything. You wouldn't allow us to buy food for the house. You're like, oh, well, we're okay. We're okay.
Wait a minute. You didn't. We slipped a bill under the door.
We were gone. It's time to go, baby. It's time to go. They tripping over here. Paul tripping.
We thought, wow, they climbed out the window. That's weird.
We did not cardio in for the day. It just happened to be time to go home. That's all.
Well, no, it was. And yeah, we were happy to do it, and and you're welcome back anytime. Mickey's, we love you guys, so you know, anytime. But it was a great creative thing to do, and we had so many. It was fun that all of a sudden there were so many different actors coming through, and we're making my wife and I, our bedroom was one scene, this room back here was another scene.
Right.
Made it all work. The living room was your host chat. Was your host section.
And actually, it gave Miss Juliet her first exposure.
That's right.
And I remind her that every time I see her or talk to her, remember, I gave you your feet going up the steps. Me.
And actually, I've just re-edited that because I want to put that up on Dry Dock at some point.
Okay.
Especially now that we're going to announce that she's going to USC. Here's Juliet. I think she must have been. What year did we do that? Do you remember what year it was?
It had to be 7 years ago. She had to be like 10 or 11.
So she was about 10. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And
it's been a while. We're still trying to pitch that show. So if anybody hears this podcast or sees this podcast and they're looking for a great sketch comedy show, stop me if you've heard.
By the way, it's all right here. If you need it, I still have it.
He's holding my stuff hostage.
That's right.
So Paul, we've been out for 4 weeks now. This is the fifth week.
Yeah, going into the fifth, right? Yeah.
So, what do you think? What are your plans? Are you going to just creative? What are you going to do?
Yeah, I would keep our project has really been great because it's given us stuff to do besides doing the videos. We're editing the videos that the guys are sending, so it gives us something to do, and especially for you, like I told you, for yourself. You're going to come out of this with a new skill.
I'm learning, and I love it too. I really love it.
No, it's a lot of fun.
Which is not unusual. Not to interrupt you. Which is not unusual because when I was in radio, I really got into producing behind the scenes of our morning show and putting bits together. So I'm not surprised now as I think about it that I fell in love with the process of editing because you get lost in that world when you're sitting there in front of that computer trying to make this. How can I make this more captivating? How can I make this more interesting? How can I make this more funny? Just one little thing can make it go from dim to bright.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
And that's intriguing to me. But continue what you were saying.
Well, I was going to say a great example is our friend Michelle Boland sent in her video.
Right.
Have you watched that one?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
If you saw the original, what you see in the final thing, none of it is in the order that she did it. She actually started her video doing her bit, telling jokes to her dolls.
Right. Okay.
And then she did her welcome thing to the camera. And I looked at it, I said, no, this is all out of order. So all that is reshuffled.
Wow. See, I didn't know that you did that.
And she even messaged me. She goes, wow, what you did, you really made me look good. I said, yeah, of course. But that's the fun of it. You kind of go, you look and go, oh, no, I think I can make this better.
See, that's the eye that you have, the creativity eye. And I didn't see the original, so I would have never known that you flipped it like that because the cuts are so precise. That's the difficult part. Making those, you could see it, but making it flow.
Yeah. Well, plus putting in, because she's telling jokes. You don't see them yet, but she's telling jokes. And it turns out she's got her stuffed animals. Right. So that's why I cut the Twilight Zone theme in, and
right.
All those little effects they kick it up a notch.
Yeah, there you go. So we're gonna keep doing that, and hopefully we'll be back soon.
Yeah.
On the high seas.
A little plug for me is because we did the watch party the other day.
Yes, I was going. That's right.
I just a year or so ago, I directed and edited my friend Kelly Monteith's show. It's called The Real Geezers of Beverly Hills Adjacent. And so, and his whole point is that where he lives, Beverly Hills is right over here. So he's just on the other side of the line.
Right.
And it's not the same.
Totally different.
Yeah.
When you walk across the street, totally different.
Totally different. But that
That's
one,
funny.
that was one of those things too, like our project, where it started where he just kind of said, hey, I want to do this thing. Would you mind coming in, at least come in and shoot it and all that? And my role just kept growing. And so all of a sudden I was directing and producing and doing all sorts of stuff. But we shot at the Comedy Magic Club. We shot at restaurants in LA. We had locations all over LA, and it really grew. And I said, this is like a real little low independent project, and we're really happy. So my plug is that it's on Amazon Prime.
I was going
So
to ask
anyone that has Amazon Prime, it's included free with your Prime. Or if you want to throw us $10, you can buy the series for $10. But it's there free if in this time especially. We just want you to enjoy it. So.
And it's called again,
The Real Geezers of Beverly Hills Adjacent.
Which means not right quite in the
Kelly's great, and it's got there's some comedians that you probably recognize that make appearances in it and stuff. So, and
cool.
Our big thing is when all this COVID happened, we were gearing up to shoot season 2. He was writing scripts, and we were getting real close to starting. And so, of course, like everything else, everything's on hold now.
Yeah, because you can't go out and do anything.
Yeah, I mean, Kelly and I can't be in the same room.
Right. I try to get out of the room every time I see him. I kid.
That was a joke I was thinking of the other day. Was what someone was asking me. So how are you guys doing? I said, well, it's difficult because my wife and daughter are behind a plate glass window.
Right.
And it's not because of the illness. They just prefer it that way.
I don't know how jokes come about. I'm talking to my buddy this morning, and he was messing with me because I'll go walk my dog like 1.5 miles, 2 miles. And then the other day I went to McDonald's and had breakfast. So he said, hey, did you walk yet? I said, yeah, I took Nala for her walk. He said, you went to McDonald's? I said, no, actually I hadn't, but I was about to go. But my wife said, are you hungry? And I was like, yeah. And then she went downstairs, and I went down. I didn't smell anything. She was in the car waiting for me to let her go. She wanted to go to McDonald's. I'm like, that's not smell of bacon. That's the exhaust of the car. Just to say, my wife don't cook often, but she did cook breakfast for me this morning.
Oh, there you go. So, that's nice. Yeah.
Cool. But it was just funny how that came out.
That's very funny. I love that. That's a good stop me if you heard it video.
Yeah.
Or even dry dock. Hey, that's your next. That's your dry dock.
There you go.
That's very funny. Yeah.
Okay, I got to put my wife in it now. Oh my goodness, she's funny until she has to be funny. When she's trying to be funny, she's not funny at all. One of the funniest jokes, I kid you not, Paul, we're driving to Texas. And men should never do the hypothetical questions with their wife. I found this out. You know what I'm talking about? Do these jeans make me look fat? If I die, which one of my friends would you date? Stuff like that. No. Yeah. So we're driving, we're quiet, and I just turned to my wife and I says, hey, babe, you think if we would have met in high school, you think we would have dated? And without missing a beat, she just turned to me and said, you're 9 years older than me. What the hell are you still doing in high school? I'm like, are you serious? He's like, if you were still in high school, you didn't need a girlfriend. You needed a damn tutor. That's what you needed. And I'm like, you know what? I'm done.
That's really funny.
Paul Boland. Yeah. Paul Boland, thank you for being on my podcast.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get any interruptions? No interruptions except for the darkness.
People are gonna think, is he hiding from the law? Why is he?
We're doing a Dave Chappelle. Yeah, blackness.
Well, I'll tell you what. Speaking of Dave Chappelle, I told you I showed Juliet the Nutty Professor the other day.
Right.
And what he does his bit as the comic.
She's falling out.
Women be shopping.
Also, you're working on Dave Chappelle now, huh?
Hey, there you go.
Oh, that's funny. You got to expose her more, Paul. Come on now.
Yes. I'm doing my best. I'm trying.
Okay. Well, you got all the time in the world now because you're there.
Yeah. But the bad thing is now, but now I have my 17-year-old daughter going, "Hey Eddie, you're the F man. F you, Eddie."
Hey, as long as you don't say the "fuck you, man."
Well, that's what I was trying. See, I was trying to be good. What was it? You know what started this? I think I told you. What started the Eddie Murphy with Juliet is that she wanted to see Dolomite Is My Name.
Okay, yeah, that's a great film.
And it's excellent. And she loved it. But for the next week, my little sweet little 17-year-old was going, Dolomite Is My Name. And F it up, mother effers is my name.
I knew I loved that little girl when she was a little toddler running around the Windjammer, getting on everybody's nerve.
I know. It's so we were talking about it the other day because she's so chill now. It's amazing because I always have to explain to people, because they'll say 17, they'll go, "Oh no," and I go, "No, she's so relaxed now." But when we were talking about if Juliet was 5 during this time, you'd see me with my hair pulled out, because we always said when she was a little girl, she never eased into the day ever. It was eyes open at 7 in the morning. Yes. Let's go.
I used to watch her when we sit and talk, and I'm like just watching her run around and see you guys trying to control. I'm like,
That's why we love the kids club.
Oh yeah, the kids.
We think,
before we go, you gotta tell. Okay, I got time. Before we go, tell the story about when you and Marlise almost missed the ship in Alaska, and why you didn't.
Yeah, and it was Juliet's 11th birthday. And we were in Juneau, Alaska. Juliet was in the kids club on the ship, and Marlise wanted to get birthday party stuff for our cabin.
Right.
So we went to the Walmart or whatever they have in Juneau, and we're shopping and killing time. But before we left, I asked the guy at the gangway, I said, "What time do we sail?" And he said 7:30. And I said, "Okay." So we're off and we're taking our time. We're having a great time. And we come back to Juneau. I said, we could actually walk back through the town, but the ship was at that far dock, the Royal Caribbean dock. And I realized all the cabs all the traffic, everything has stopped in Juneau. It's about 6:30. I know we still got an hour.
Right.
We're leisurely walking through Juneau, and it's so quiet that I can hear from the ship, "Paul and Marlise Boland, please return to the cruise ship." And we're about a mile away at this point.
You can hear it.
I can hear it, but also there's no cabs, there's no cars, there's nothing. So now we're running back to the ship, constantly hearing Paul and Marlise Boland. And we get back to the ship. Graham Seymour was the cruise director, and he's just like, his eyes are like this. And I said, he told me 6:30, or he told me 7:30. And he goes, "No, it was 6:30. We were sailing at 6:30. I'm like, "Oh my gosh." Oh. The only reason we got back and that they actually waited for us. And we actually, I think the ship might have been 10 minutes late leaving or whatever, or however it worked out, what they were supposed to. But because Juliet was on board in the kids club, they couldn't leave. They said, if Juliet had been with us, you would have met us in Skagway.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I mean, as you know how cruise ships are, from now when the cruise director brings me on the next night for my show, he goes, "You might know Paul's work," and he puts his hands together, "Paul and Marlise Boland." So
that's great. That's a freaking great story, man.
Everybody knew us.
That's funny. That's funny, man. Thank you, Paul, for being on my podcast. I'm going to try to make this happen. I'm trying to make this work. I'm trying to make it funny and interesting, bringing on interesting guests from the cruise ship, entertainers, impressionists, comedians, musicians, dancers, singers, whatever you do, tell your story. Just it's kind of like sitting around in the buffet, just talking like we do, just having the conversation.
Yeah. Well, I remember, and by the way, you're doing a great job. And I remember when I first text you about this, but I thought we were going to do this together, but I mean, you're doing fine.
No, this was my ideal on this one, baby. Yeah, this is my idea. So you just hang on.
Yeah, because I
I'll let you work.
I created.
Maybe I'll let you work the camera for me next time.
Oh no, thanks. Oh, that's great.
All right, Paul. Have a good day, man, and we'll see you on Dry Dock.
Absolutely, and my best to Mickey and everybody support Miguel. And
Right.
you know, boy, I can't wait. I can't wait to see this. This is,
yeah, it's pretty dark.
It could not be brighter. I'm in my living room. It could not be brighter. It's unbelievable.
It's you, man. You bring the darkness to the darkness to the situation.
Right.
Plus, you got on the black hat and the black t-shirt. That's what it is.
No, it's actually a gray T-shirt.
Oh, jeez. No, mine is gray.
Let's see that. That's my little gray Puma shirt.
It is gray, yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait, hold on. There we go. So anyway,
yeah, you're about 60 minutes too late, Paul. I'll talk to you later, buddy.
Take care.
Have a good one. You can purchase my book at Amazon. Also, listen to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all podcast platforms. Follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Miggy'sWorld_. Lastly, to experience and support everything I'm doing, go to my website, miggy'sworld.com. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week.